Welcome back to the podcast. Right, this week we have episode 48, The Thing. Now, has anyone been up to anything interesting this week, or is it the same old? So we got Jess and Larry with us.
Hello.
Right, guys?
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a camera today.
Yeah.
So, anything interesting, Jess?
Back to work.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Are you happy, though? Is it good to be back?
It's good to be back, but yeah, it's been quiet. So I served about 8 people today. I just kind of sat staring at the floor for most of the day, but yeah.
But you get
Wasn't too
paid.
bad.
That's the main
Yeah,
thing. It's
paid
good to be
for it.
back at it. Some kind of normality. I think a lot of people are still avoiding the shops.
Yeah, Monday
Unless-
was really
unless it's-
busy. I've seen the
unless
queue
it's a
at
supermarket.
the queue outside Primark. As I walked past, I was like, no, I'm not going to even try and go in there for a long time. It was
There's
ridiculous.
a lot of people queuing for Primark.
Yeah, loads. And then as I came up the road when I was coming home, the queues to get into the pubs are huge.
Really?
So I don't know when I'm going to go to the pub, but not for a while, I guess.
No. Seems crazy. How about you, Larry? Still?
Mainly just watching stuff. Still doing a bit of filming with miniatures. So that's going okay. It's going pretty good.
I really want to see these miniatures.
There's one
Is it
hidden.
stop motion? Is it stop motion stuff?
Not stop motion, more I guess like false perspective. So using things close to the camera and having backdrops. There is one hidden. It's like right back there. Yeah. I can go grab it, but if you want, I can grab it.
Yeah,
really quickly.
Why not? Why not?
Should do it.
This could go out as a video. We hope so.
Oh, and he's got the Captain America shield. What the hell?
Nice.
Oh yeah.
I
There's
just
also
watched
Thor's
that.
hammer. There's Thor's hammer. There.
Nice.
Oh. Okay, so like using small miniatures and false perspective. So like it is really just put together. This is a slightly older model of a house that I've got. So this is actually like a Barclays Limited Bank one. But
nice.
It's like using
Hereditary.
Kind of, yeah, but trying to make it seem real. So when you see this on the screen, it'll be shot hopefully in a certain way where it'll appear at least like real from like certain angles. We'll see. I mean, people could watch it and be like,
wow,
that is fake.
Nice.
Wow. I haven't been up to too much. Usual. Working, watching movies. Same old, really. Not really talking to anyone other than the kids. But there you go. So let's move on to this episode 48 of The Thing, which was made in 1982. I was even young then. So I did discuss the beginning of it. A research team in Antarctica, I can speak, is hunted by a shape-shifting alien. So is this actually, Larry, a remake itself from The Thing from Another World? I don't know, you probably want to discuss more about it later on, but I know it's from a very old novella called, I did write this down as well. So Who Goes There? By John W. Campbell. That's 1938.
God, yeah, I don't know the date on the novella.
That is 1930. So that's older than me. So it's directed by John Carpenter of Halloween fame, The Fog, Escaping from New York. I think they were the 3 films leading up to The Thing, which is incredible, really, because they're all absolute classics. I love The Fog. It's so good. So it's directed by John Carpenter. Budget $15 million. And a box office, so it could only get the American figures, and it said 19 million in America. I would have thought that would have made a lot more, because I think my parents saw it at the cinema.
Yeah, it didn't do well on its release because it came out the same week as E.T., and a lot of people and reviewers came and went to see E.T. and then went and saw The Thing, and its reviews are just like they're quite funny to read now, but they're basically people saying, "Oh, it's grotesque, it's violent," compared to E.T. And it didn't do very well, and it was only in time did it become a cult classic of a film where people
actually
really
think it would have something in common with E.T.
I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a run of the mill sort of, maybe not like on the same themes as E.T., but I think people thought it'd be a lot less involved, because watching it again, I've watched this film so many times, but watching it again, it falls very much into like Lovecraftian horror, like very slow paced. It doesn't give you too many answers. It's a lot of it is to figure out yourself, and I think compared to E.T.,
which isn't great for me, having to figure stuff out, to be honest. But I think I did work most of this one out. It was a very different film to E.T.
Yeah, very different.
Did I tell you the story? Just on the E.T. thing, like when I went, because I'm an electrician and I go and test people's properties. Now, a lot of people, not a lot, but there's been one or two or three that have said, have you been COVID vaccinated? And, do you have it? And people get really worried about it. And I went there was one in particular that were asking a lot of questions on the phone. So in the end, they said I could go there. Now, it was on a Saturday morning, and when I arrived, they opened the door for me, said, come on in. And it was like the scene from E.T. with every single area, ceiling, floors, walls, covered in plastic sheets. Now, she said to me, there's a socket there, and she'd cut round the socket so I could do my testing, which was really nice. Now, I thought it'd just be one or two rooms. Oh, no. It was the bathroom, it was the toilet, it was both bedrooms upstairs. Even the beds were covered in plastic wrap. And when I walked in there, it would have been much easier for me just to put on a suit, like a nuclear kind of fallout suit or something. Do you know what I mean? Than going in there. But every time I mention E.T., I just think of that scene, and it was going in this woman's house. It was absolutely crazy. Should put some photos on our Instagram. I've got a couple of photos of this house. It's incredible.
So she just covered it because you were coming around?
Yes, and she was worried about me giving her COVID.
Wow.
Do you want me to blow your mind with a fact from E.T.?
Go on.
Everyone says that the line from E.T. is E.T. phone home. It's actually E.T. home phone, which is... It's just that I don't know what it's called, where you remember something different
home
to what
phone.
it is.
Yeah, because I always thought it was phone home.
Yeah,
everyone says that.
I think he says like it's the first time he tries to utter the words. He's like home phone and then points, and it's like being remembered, I guess, as phone home.
So, do you think it was a bit over the top then, her covering everything?
Yeah.
And then cutting. It was just I've never ever known that, and it'd have been easier for me not to go, and it must have taken hours, hours and hours to do, and I was there an hour.
Yeah.
And I was gone. Anyway,
we
let's get back to this film. Rotten Tomatoes. What are we thinking, Jess?
I'm going to say 80.
Larry?
I'd agree.
Yeah. It's 85.
Nice.
So it's pretty much...
That's pretty good.
Classic. Now, I know you had loads to say about this, Larry. So the only thing I kind of wrote on the film, and I know this film very well and I can talk about it, but like, was that a wolf at the beginning or huskies?
Huskies.
It's a husky.
Yeah, I said this at the start of the film because they obviously were shooting at a husky.
He was lovely as well.
Yeah, I was like, why are they shooting a husky? And then my brain went, maybe they're hunting a wolf, because back then they would quite often use huskies instead of wolves.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe it's supposed to be a wolf. And then obviously as it went on, I was like, okay, it's a husky. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a husky, and it was getting chased, but it didn't look that bothered about being shot at.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure on the acting of the husky, to be honest.
No, I'm not either.
That husky, the husky, like, and the acting has to do later on though. That's if you watch the making, that it's so well trained. Like it hits marks. Like the actual like dog can hit marks on the floor and know how to time it. I was just like, this mad.
Yeah.
Mad.
But like the acting was not, yeah, we can talk about it later. But
I have more to go into about dogs later.
We love cats and dogs and huskies.
I think I know what's coming.
So I kind of that was my only bullet point, and then we can talk about the effects and things. So, what are your thoughts on this, Jess? Really, this is your first watch.
I really liked it. Yeah. I really enjoyed it because I didn't really know I had absolutely no idea what the thing was about. Everyone's always spoken about it, but I had no idea about it really. So when it started, I watched it with my other half, and he's seen it before, but he didn't remember much of it because it was a long time ago. He would have seen it. Yeah. And obviously you've got like the spaceship, and I was like, oh, it's a sci-fi, and then he was like, it's not really though, and then he was like, oh wait, is it? And then he like couldn't really remember, and the whole time I was like, is this a sci-fi? Is this like what's happening?
I think it is.
But yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So
I love the one. I've got it on Blu-ray, and I only just watched I don't think it's a remake, is it? But just a couple of weeks ago, I watched the other thing. Is it a remake? I'm not sure.
Prequel.
Prequel. Yeah, so I enjoy it, and I watch it every year at least. So I know you love it, Larry. Would you say this is your favourite?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I've seen this film so many times. The first time I watched it was with my dad when I was very little, and I remember it was on the TV, and from the opening with the spacecraft where it whizzes by and then you see the title, I didn't think it was a horror, so I was there like I had like Independence Day and sort of thing like that, so I was like, okay, it's going to be one of these type of films, and I was so wrong, but I loved it. I loved it. I've seen it too many times to the point where there's so many theories about it, and like I even wrote down like my thoughts on those theories. Just like there's a lot.
So the basic outline of the film for those people who may not have seen it is there is an alien comes to Earth in its spaceship. How many thousand years ago was it? It's a few. Anyway, it's a long time.
Yeah, it's very long.
And it gets frozen in the ice, and the guys exploring the Antarctica come across it. And do they dig it up, the Norwegians?
Yeah.
That's what the prequel is, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah.
So they dig it up, it escapes, and this is where Kev tries to explain stuff. And it can kind of copy you, can't it? I was a little bit unsure whether it makes its way into you, how it gets inside you. Does it just penetrate them, or
it uses their cells, doesn't it? To mimic
or does it copy them? Yeah. So it makes a copy. So is there what happens to the person? Does it absorb it, or?
Yeah, it assimilates them. So basically, like on the computer, when Blair is watching the cell, like the dog cells, it's basically it assimilates them, takes them over, and then recopies them. So in some cases, with like Bennings, where he gets taken over, and it's like midway, and you can see all like the like weird tubes. It's like halfway done. So it's basically getting towards the end because it's only his hands that haven't been finished. Yeah. Whereas like later on, it's different scenarios and different stages of it.
So it's pretty much them trying to work out who's got it, who's been. There's never more than one, though, is there?
What in like the film? There's like two things at once.
Yeah. There's two of them.
There's one point. There's three.
Wow.
Mm.
Is that because it? This is great. So, does it simulate and then duplicate? Is that?
So depending. So it depends.
Separate entities in the first place.
Yeah. So the best example to give, and I guess, can we go into spoilers?
Yes. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, definite spoiler alert. One of the best examples to look at with a character of like how did they get assimilated was Blair, because Blair starts off very much, he tries to destroy all the communication so it can't leave. He tries desperately to stop it. And even when he's locked away, you kind of question to yourself, well, who got to him and when? But there's a few, and some of these are like theories, but Blair openly does state it. So I think it's in there on purpose. But he says it can be transmitted through means of touch, liquids, even resting, like, I don't know, your hand just for a second and then touching your face. It can be transmitted through that. And
like COVID.
Basically, yeah. And there's a point where Blair has on his pen or pencil a rubber, and he's touching the thing on the table, and then if you watch closely, he tips the thing to the tip of his lip there, and if you then later on when he comes back, the thing has grown from that part of the lip, so that's why he has the face on the side. So it's little things like that. So I'm guessing, because there's been like theories saying that it could have been done through the food, because they drop off cans of food to him. But I think it's such a small detail to focus on when he does it and then have it later on. I think that's possibly an example of like how it spreads. There's loads of different ways.
So yeah, you're in trouble really if you get anywhere near it.
Yeah,
pretty much. Unless you're Kurt Russell. Did Kurt Russell have it in the end?
Yeah, Santa. It was
Santa.
As soon as the film started, I was like, "Oh, it's Santa again."
I always think of Big Trouble in Little China every time.
He's great.
He is. Plissken as well. Is he Snake?
Yeah, Snake Plissken and Escape from New York.
So I haven't got too much more to say, and I know you've got a fair bit, and I think the special effects were amazing compared to what the prequel was. Much better.
Yeah,
much better. My son was looking at some of that because I watched it with Alex, my 12-year-old. He loved it, absolutely loved this film, and it is pretty gory, even from the beginning when a mate's got his face split in half pretty much. Looks like he's got two heads at one point. But it's just all so good, and it must have cost so much money and taken so much time to do.
Yeah. There's so many good effects in it. There's so many.
Did they all have it in the end, everyone?
Not everyone. I actually wrote. I've got it
because I wasn't sure. Right at the end, you got the two of them sat there, haven't you, talking, and they kind of. I don't know whether one of them had it, both of them had it, or neither of them had it, but I wasn't quite sure.
See, I was confused because I didn't know if we'd ever actually heard anyone speak when they were the thing.
Yeah,
because we see when they're doing the test to see who is it. The guy who kept wearing the headphones, it was him, but. He was a character I never even thought about because he just was never really doing much.
And that's where it lies though in the what, like, so there's like scenes where he's specifically not there, and which leads to the conclusion that he's the one that got to the blood, because there's that whole scene with the blood, and basically Windows, the guy with the frizzy hair. Windows drops the keys when he sees Bennings. He drops the keys on the floor, and the idea is that there's only two people that could have got to the keys on the floor, which is Norris, which is the guy whose chest opens and then eats the arms, and then Palmer, which is the guy with the headphones. And yeah, the kind of whole point, which I think is so good in that film, is there's purposely put moments where you're there like, well, what's this person doing, or who's that? You see there's really nice shots where you see people going across the snow like from an angle, and you think, well, who's that? And they're all coated up, and it kind of adds to the paranoia of what they're feeling. And I think that's why it does work so well in this film, is because it makes you feel in the same boat of who is it, at what time are they, did they get taken? And even at the ending when you're sat there, you kind of are in Kurt Russell's shoes of like, is he, isn't he? And there's not much else that can be done though, because obviously it's all burnt up.
Yeah, because then I was also like, the guy who like just dies and then chops the guy's arms off.
Yeah,
he obviously shows that he's in pain at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, was he infected from the inside out in that case?
Yeah, so when it assimilates you, it takes on... It's a perfect mimic. So Norris, the guy whose chest opens, is the first one who gets turned by the dog, I believe. But John Carpenter shot, like when you see the shadow of the person and the dog walks in, that's none of the cast. And John Carpenter did that on purpose to make sure that no one could go, oh, it's this person who got it first. So it's left a mystery. But yeah, it perfectly copies you. So Norris had heart problems. And so it copies that without knowing. So it just perfectly, thoughts, everything like that. And so when he gets pushed over, it's that thing of it's trying to survive because it knows it's not going to survive. So what's the best next thing it can do is then its chest, different parts of it try and split off. And
yeah, I did like the head
effect
with the like spider legs. I love that. I thought that was brilliant.
Yes.
And they just turn around and they're like, what the? That's great. So good.
It's so good. It's such a great film.
I love the scene, where they put the dog to bed with the other dogs. I think that's quite incredible because, like, there's a bit of unease when they let him in. It's the atmosphere.
That's the scene I have an issue with, right? So, I grew up with 5 Siberian Huskies.
I know.
I know what Huskies are like. Okay, you cannot introduce a random dog to a pack. You wouldn't have just walked in, which is why I was like, oh, do they know something's up? But then it wasn't until the dog's head split open that they all started growling. And I was like, okay, so that's odd. So I'm like, would they just chill with this dog walking in and just sitting in their cage? I don't know. But
they were just letting it wander around everywhere, weren't they?
Yeah, before,
it's because Clark, isn't it? Clark.
Yeah, I was really surprised that he wasn't infected. I really thought he was.
He's just an absolute dog lover. Basically, boils down to it.
Yeah.
Loves his dogs. So, right. So, have we got anything negative to say? Because I haven't at all, really.
I have a small one, but it's not really a negative.
Yeah.
It's just more of like, if I had to pick one thing, I wish Fuchs, the scientist guy with the glasses who comes up with the idea for the test, I wish they would have shown or at least answered the question of what happened to him, because to this day it's the one point of the film where I'm like, it doesn't hurt to actually confirm, like, no, he set himself on fire or something to kill, like, he's just like burnt to a crisp on the floor, and they come out like, what happened to him? And it's like, well, he's such a pivotal role of coming up with the test, and it's almost just like, well, we need to get rid of him. Off-screen death, and it's the only thing. Everything else in it, I think, is perfect.
Well, the test itself was great. When one of them jumped out, my Alex jumped. I jumped a bit. Well, it was like a blood kind of thing spurts out of it, doesn't it? Like I don't know, what is it? A bit of pink rubber or something.
It's a fake hand as well.
Yeah,
which didn't realise.
It's amazing. And you're waiting for it for all of them, aren't you? Each time. It's incredible. So, have we got anything else more to say? We're 20 odd minutes in.
A fair bit.
You've got lots. I want to hear some theories and things, Larry, because I
had a weird theory.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to be part of Larry's theories.
No, go for it.
Well, my theory was that maybe there was like a gas leak and they were all actually just psychotic.
Oh.
Maybe there was never an actual thing. They just had this crazy idea that something was happening to all of them, so they kept killing each other off.
That sounds like Man of McDowell, whatever.
Yeah. It was just a really random thing that popped up, and I was like, is that what's happening? But yeah. Because it was so crazy, but I was like, maybe it could be something really absurd like that. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does hold up. The only bit I'd question is when they find the big spaceship, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
You'd be like just tripping in the ice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe
it does
they
go
did.
to that. Yeah, I was going to say, maybe they did.
But yeah, that was it, really.
I've got no theories. It's hard enough for me to actually understand a film, although I love films, to actually have multiple theories about what's going on. I'm just happy with one. So, come on, Larry.
Well, so I'll start with just like some interesting bits that I found out about the film. There's a specific point where Kurt Russell throws a stick of dynamite at Palmer when he runs out and he's on fire. Yeah. If you watch closely, in the commentary, Kurt Russell was saying how he actually threw something that exploded, and you can watch him. If you watch it very closely, Kurt Russell gets forced back so much that he smacks like straight into the wood panel falls, and he was like, "Yeah, I thought I died at that point." It's like the explosion was so big and
I'll
so
have to watch it. Yeah, watch it again.
Yeah, an interesting thing that I found just in general from watching it is that Palmer specifically goes for windows a lot. So whenever there's a confrontation, like there's a bit where they say like, "Oh, you go with windows," and he's like, "I ain't going with windows. I'll go with Childs." And then there's a bit later on where like, "Oh, let him in." And he's like, "Oh, well, you're the first one that want to let him in." And I just noticed that it's very specifically always at him, and he's the first person that he goes for when he gets out of the chair. So it's just interesting to think like, okay, so that Palmer's the thing, and they clearly have their kind of target of who and what they go for. This one was quite funny. This is just listen to the commentary of John Carpenter talking about it, but the first on-screen model, which is that guy in the Norwegian camp who's I think cut his like wrists and it's frozen. The blood is frozen out. Apparently the model sucked. Apparently the model looked terrible, quoting words there. And so John Carpenter was like, right, we're going to have to dim these lights and shoot at a certain angle. And again, when you watch it, you're like, it's not bad. I don't think it looks bad, but apparently so. I'll leave that one to the end because I guess it's a question that everyone probably talks about the ending. But all the cast and crew were male while they were filming in British Columbia because there were two sets. There was actually out in the snow on all the exteriors, and then all the interiors are in a studio. Another like interesting fact was that the Norwegian camp is actually the same camp as the original base, the American base. It's just they filmed everything at the Norwegian camp last. So all the burnt up, like all the destroyed buildings is actually just the American camp after the film's finished. Yeah. They've just put, I think they put an extra building in, which is like not even destroyed, just to make it look a bit different. That dog scene, when it sits down, it's not a real dog. It's a fluffy toy dog from like a child's like toy shop, and it's seen for two shots because when they were watching it back, they said the fur looked terrible. But if you pause it, you can tell it's a toy dog, and it's just like got button eyes and everything, and it's just very funny. There was one real flamethrower, and then there was one fake flamethrower. And only Charles was mainly the guy operating it. And there's a scene with the dogs where he flamethrowers the whole the inside of it. And if you watch like from two shots, there's the first shot where they're all stood around like kind of heroic before it goes off. But in the second shot, when he's actually lighting it, you can see all of the cast hidden behind two boxes because the fear was that if he even just turned a bit, the lighter fluid would just go over them, which was pretty cool. So there's I guess this is my last like little like random point, but when Charles runs to tell McCready about the dog, like that all the other dogs have been shot now, like they've all been taken out by Blair, he hides his left hand behind Kurt Russell's back. and it's because he's wearing a cast because he really badly injured himself, and he had to get it cast up, and so they needed him though to run down and tell this, like, you know, this main bit of dialogue. So they were like, oh, when you just get to his back, you just hide behind, like maybe put your arm behind, so he leans on him very like in a random way. And the one that I left to last was the one about Childs at the end, because everyone talks about that. Is Childs a thing? And there's so many theories. Like there's one that says that you can see Kurt Russell's breath, but you can't see Childs' breath. So that means and there's one that says that there's a theory that says, and yes, sad to say that I've rewatched this to make sure, but there was a theory that said that every time you see a thing, there's not a glimmer in someone's eye, whereas every time you see a human, there'll be a reflection in the eyes. It's not true. I can tell you that for a fact. I got to like one scene where I was like, oh, okay, this is the first scene that this theory is applicable to. And then the very next scene, it just goes out the window. So I was like, okay, right, well, someone clearly watched that scene and then thought maybe. But yeah, I don't know if I'd say that Childs, me personally, I'd say that Childs probably is a thing, only because there's a specific point where he leaves he's waiting by the door where he gets told, you know, if Blair comes back by himself, just kill him if he's not with us. And when he leaves, if you look closely, all the clothes are different, all the jackets and shoes. And obviously a main factor of the thing is that it can't copy clothes. So it would have copied him, probably ripped through his clothes, and then had to have changed. So the coats being all different, I imagine, could be a very big hint. But then I guess it could be continuity. Like it could just be we need a shot of the door open, put the jacket up kind of thing. So
yeah.
But I don't even think John Carpenter knows, actually. I think he wrote that ending with the whole point of it being ambiguous. Because I don't think he ever prepared for... he didn't want any sequels, I don't think. And obviously it didn't perform well at the box office. But then, yeah, my last note would be in Halloween, there's a very nice nod to the thing because it's on the TV when they're watching the thing from... And it was just quite funny because obviously Halloween came before. So it was kind of like a little... Because he loves that original film. So I imagine that's probably what persuaded him to do it.
I've never seen it, and it's something I need to see. The original. I'm not sure where you can watch it, actually. Probably on YouTube.
Yeah, I was going to say probably on YouTube.
Yeah.
Be able to
was that 50s, wasn't it? 50s? I think I said that earlier, 1951.
They did stuff on that film that you cannot do today. Like, they literally just lit a whole room on fire with actual actors just nearly burning. Like, if you watch it, it's very close. Like, you'd never get away with that now. Ever. Which is a shame, because like you could do like more daring stunts, I guess, but still probably not that safe.
So, shall we move on to boners? Or have you got more to say, Larry? Because like, I'm going to watch it again now. I know you've explained a few things. What would one other thing? Why were they there in Antarctica? Why were they based there in the first place?
They were like a research, like, so they say, don't they? They say that they're basically there
researching ice.
I think the two scientists are basically trying to, what's it called? I can't remember the word for it, but yeah, it's basically like studying inside the ice and like bacterias and all that, and that's why they have that certain equipment. But they get trapped, don't they, by the storm, which is why they can't reach anybody, because there's been a storm heading through for the last 3 days, so they're basically stuck there for essentially, I think in the film, when like watching it from start to finish, it's like the course of maybe like a day or two, but I think they kind of outline it that the storm's going to last like a week through.
Yeah, because he says that he hadn't been able to contact anyone for the past 2 weeks or so.
Oh yeah, it's probably longer than it's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's not. And Norway were there as well, doing their thing. Probably the Brits were there somewhere.
Mm.
The Russians.
I did like the when they go to the place that the thing came from, there was an axe in the door, and then later on you see Kurt Russell use an axe to break down one of the doors, which I thought was quite cool. Yeah, nice little nod there.
You should watch the prequel. Because the prequel, not again, I don't rate the prequel on the same level as this film, but what it does well is connecting the two. So if you watch the prequel, you can then watch the thing, and like an example would be that axe. That's used in the prequel for a certain scene, which I won't spoil.
Oh, nice.
But then it gets referenced again. So when you see it, you're like, oh, very clever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the effects. The effects aren't good in it. Like,
so bonus then.
Bonus.
I'm gonna go with an 8. It's definitely in my top 10, I think, of all time. Could go 9. It's like 8, 9. It's up there. It's quality. It's entertaining. I'm still confused, but it's entertaining. Special effects are great. It's got Kurt Russell in. What more do you want? Yeah. I would say 8 to 9. So, Jess?
I'd give it an 8 as well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Something you'd watch again?
Yeah, I do want to watch
it again.
Did you buy it,
or did you rent it?
I think we rented it on Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're spending some money for this podcast.
Yeah, I know. Well, it wasn't me, it was my Vav. He paid for it, so it's fine.
It's funny,
on his account.
I've got about... Since I've been doing this podcast, I think I've bought nearly all the films on Blu-ray. So they're building up.
Yeah.
So it's well over 40 I've got here. But,
nice.
Yeah, I can look at all of them and go, Hereditary or Evil Dead. You know, it's nice having the remake. It's good. How about you then, Larry?
I'd give it a 10. I love this film.
Yeah.
I honestly love this film. Like, no matter how many times I've seen it, I can put it on. Even like for the podcast, I was like, oh, I'm going to watch it twice, and it just didn't bother me to do that. Like, there was never a point. Like, if you had asked me, can we watch it a third time, I would have gone, twist my arm. Yeah, fine. I love it.
The only time I've ever done that is The Triangle. I watched 3 times, and I still didn't understand what was going on.
Once was enough for me.
I love that film.
We reviewed it twice.
Did you with the ending of the film? Did you get the roundup? Yeah.
So we do it again for the 50th.
Oh God, we'll do it for a third time.
We've done it. Our episode 1 was me and Stephen talking about Triangle. I chose Triangle. My fault.
I love it.
It's great. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
I'd love you to explain. We've had so many theories on how many.
Do you want me to explain the ending for you, like now? Like it's quite like like that, like a dome, if you want.
But how many? What was her name again? I know it's Melissa George because she introduces the podcast sometimes. Yeah. But what was her name?
Was it Jess?
It is Jess.
Because I was getting confused because in our group chat everyone was talking about Jess and killing people and all this other stuff, and I was like,
Jess
"What
1,
have I done?"
Jess 2, Jess 3.
I was so confused.
Yeah.
Yes, go on, Larry.
So basically, Jess. Oh God, yeah. So Jess basically, like, in her before hopping on the boat. So it's basically like purgatory. So basically, she's being punished for the fact how she.
Yeah, that's
yes. She's her. It's a Oh my goodness, I can't remember the actual Greek mythology for it, but the idea that it's a perpetuating day that continues and cycles on with no escape, no matter how many.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, Groundhog Day.
Yeah, and she basically physically abuses her son, her son beforehand, and the idea is that the version of her, right? So let's imagine there's 2 versions. One version is the abuser, let's just say for a second. The other version is the one that's on the boat and goes through what she does. She goes back beforehand, kills the self that she believes is wrong, but in doing so, the kid realizes, seeing this kind of traumatic event in the car, then overturns the car, kills the kid, and then she lives out the continuing cycle that she then goes on the boat with her friends as you know, that's at the very beginning. They say to her like, "Oh God, are you all right? You kind of look shell shocked," and she's like, "It's because it's just happened. It's just that you could put that film on repeat and just play it over and over, and it would always sync back up to the start." So she's just in a perpetuating like kind of state of mind.
It was a fascinating film for us. We did it for our 25th episode, and I think we might have got a bit more because I watched so many little documentaries or YouTube videos on it, and I watched the film probably 4 or 5 times now in a year to try and get my head around what was going on. And I think I do get it. And we got to the bottom that she might be in some kind of Groundhog Day punishment hell thing for what she had done. But yeah, it was great. But like after my first watch, you can imagine how confused I was. You know. And then I watched it again, and then there was like people's theories on what was going on, and I could never work out, was there 3 Jesses or 4, or I think
we were trying to count them, and that was a whole other thing.
And it's like
there's always 3 at one time, which then references like the triangle. There's her masked, there's her getting onto the boat, and then there's her like depending on which version of her survives being the masked killer. Because one of those versions always is able to continue on and succeed. So there's always like 3. It is a confusing film. It is, but that's the thing. It's a lot of people don't like that film, and I do understand why. But I think it's I think it's really good. Again, it kind of falls into Lovecraftian horror. That kind of element of the scarier thing is the unknown, rather than like
Definitely.
Because like going back to the thing, the I guess another bit of it, like of tippet for it is the thing is very much a reinterpretation of Lovecraft's In the Mountains of Madness. If
I think I've read that. I think I have read it. Yeah.
It's great, and they are basically the same story. They obviously are not. It's not set in the same period, and they don't have the certain technology. There's no like aliens from outer space sort of thing, but it does play into that whole, they find another camp, and the camp has been like assimilated and all that, and then it starts to assimilate them. It's very much the same, but it works so well. It honestly does work so well. I think Lovecraftian horror is something that I think we'll only see more people delve into. And I think like Robert Eggers, who does The Lighthouse, The Witch, and Ari Aster, who does Midsummer and Hereditary, they both love to use elements like that from those stories. Yeah. So I am looking forward to seeing what they do next with that sort of genre.
Wow.
Did we do our total bonus for this film?
No. So I think this might be the best. So I'm going 8.5-ish, and I really. So we've got 8, 16, and a 10, which is 26, is it? Yeah, so we're looking at what? 8.5, 9, aren't we? Really?
I can't do math.
That'd be 9. I think
divided by 3. I don't know what
8.5 to 9 bonus, which is I think it's the number 1 film. I'm pretty sure it is. So
8.6.
Yeah, it's got to be
8.6666666. Continue, actually.
Yes.
But yeah.
Nice.
So good score. I think that's probably the best we've done. So I'm pleased with that, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, Jess. So,
yeah, that was good.
Jess hasn't watched, although she loves horror. I think I might have said this before, but there's many classics Jess hasn't seen.
Yes.
I can't wait to do Pumpkinhead. I'm so looking forward to that. There's
there's so many.
What's the film? Do you know Slumber Party Massacre?
Isn't that really awful?
It's the one with the classic. It's the one where he's got a drill on the end of a guitar in the second one.
I was going to say usually the first ones of a franchise are usually.
Well, they're
the
actually
best
remaking it. There's a guy.
Yeah,
going around,
they are. I did hear
drilling.
That as
well. Putting drills in people's heads, girls, basically at a slumber party. Well worth a watch. But
I've heard they're remaking The Thing.
Which one?
I've heard that they're going to remake The Thing. again.
Really? Again,
Like, and
no,
but not
leave
like
it
not
alone.
a sequel, like a full on just remaking
What,
the
same
film. I just don't
creature?
want them to do it. I don't want them to touch that film. Like, I know that they'll say, "Oh, but it won't. If we remake it, it won't spoil the old one." But I just think, just leave it be. Like, there's so many other ideas. You don't need to just remake.
Just make an original film.
Yeah,
That's what we need more of. Remakes. The only remake I really, really liked was The Evil Dead.
yeah. That was because the person who got behind that loved. Like, you can tell the love for it, and Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi were involved from the start. Like, look, have fun with it. This is in its own universe. Stick to the kind of rules and conventions that have set up, but have fun with it. And if they did that, maybe, but you just know someone will be like, "Oh, we need to get a Kurt Russell
involved."
Look a lot, yeah, and it's like, no, it's perfect.
Wow, we're on camera, but normally I'd have a bump here. So let's move on to what we watched this week.
What have you been watching?
Oh, seriously, what have you been watching?
Larry, did you watch Violation yet?
Yes, I did. Well,
there was penises, right?
Yes, so there was erect penises. Yes, I didn't.
So,
I didn't
think to watch it. So
it was no. To be fair, it was a bit of a shock because you had obviously told me some themes of the film, and then I knew I was expecting penis.
All I got was don't watch it. I was like, okay.
It is. I can understand. The thing is, I can understand why this film. It's a very good film.
Yeah.
It's very good, but I can understand its polarizing thoughts because it relies heavily on a big question, which is, did something occur in the film? Like, did something actually happen the way that it happened? And it's a very touchy subject. I feel, I don't know if I could do justice.
Because to me, I was kind of thinking, God, that was brutal what she did, but did he deserve that?
That's what I mean. Like,
that made me feel a bit funny thinking.
Yeah. It's weird. It is a very weird feeling.
You should maybe watch it, Jess. But there is.
Yeah. Okay. Do you mind if it's summarized? Do you mind if it's summarized up, or would that spoil it? Because it is a spoiler technically, but I don't know. Like, to give context to maybe people. I don't know. What's up to you, Jess? Do you want it spoiled or?
I don't really care. Yeah. Fine with me.
Okay, so I'll just put it really quickly as spoilers for this film, just because I do think that people should definitely go watch it. It's a very well made film, and the acting in it is superb.
It's amazing.
But it very much relies on a tale of two sisters, really, and kind of this jealousy, kind of resentment aspect between them. And they both have two different partners, and the younger sister's partner and the other sister end up kind of like kissing at first, and then which leads into then this scene where I will stress, like, again,
both very drunk, right?
Yeah, they're both very drunk and they're having sex, but the sister is essentially whispering, almost like, you don't see, she's not shouting, she's like whispering, "Get off, don't do this." She doesn't
shout, "Get off me" at any point.
No. So it's and the film gives this perception of like what did happen, because from that moment on, she says like, "What you did to me," and he's very much like, "What are you talking about?" Like, it was consensual, and it leaves this very kind of grey area of what happened. And what she, I'll leave it there because I think the rest of it is kind of what then would go into spoilers, really. But yeah, that's because you do kind of watch it and feel in this grey area because you're not specifically told. It's a great film, and I think it handles themes and issues definitely very well. It's just I don't think I would probably have to give it another rewatch and really have a think about it. But yeah, Good.
It's
good,
on Shudder,
good
Jess, if you want to watch it.
Okay.
So I'll talk about the other one I watched before we move on. There's a few things I've watched this week, but and I'll probably destroy this when I say it. Okay, so I watched Antebellum. Antebellum? No. Okay, right. Okay, I'll watch this. It's just. I can't give the spoilers though. This is the problem. Can't give the spoilers. Basically, it's about some black people who are slaves, and it's like in I would say 1800s, and they're being slaved and owned by certain white people who then are very cruel in the way they treat them. But there is a massive twist to this film, and I don't think it got rated that well. But I'm not going to tell you much more, Harry, if you haven't seen it.
I just checked then. I haven't seen it, so I'll put it on
and it
my
was
list.
kind of a film that was on my radar for a while. I wouldn't say it's horror. Maybe a little bit. The scenes are quite brutal in parts, but I think it was on. I think I watched it on Now TV. I think it was one of the newer ones on there. But yeah, without spoiling it for everyone, I won't tell you what goes on. But it's an interesting film, and the ratings weren't that great, but it does. It's a twisty film, and we like a twist. So I watched that. I can talk about. So I'll tell you one more. Land of the Dead. I love that. Lots of zombies, Jess. It's
Nice.
George Romero, whatever you say it is. Have you seen it?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Land of the Dead. These zombies start getting a bit more intelligent. That's what kind of comes across in this one. A bit more clever.
No, I haven't seen this one.
They're evolving. Watch it. It's a great film.
Oh, it's on. Oh, cool. It's on Netflix. Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I think there's a couple on there at the moment. So yeah, Larry.
I watched. What was it called? Bad Times at the El Royale, which was on Disney Plus. Surprisingly, it was really good.
Who's in that?
Chris Hemsworth. What's his name? John Hamm. I hope that's his name. Jeff Bridges. The actress from 50 Shades of Grey. I forget her name.
Never seen the film.
It was very good. If you like, it was written and directed by the same person who did, I believe, Cabin in the Woods, Drew Goddard.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a horror. It's definitely a thriller, but it does the same thing that Cabin in the Woods does. It starts off one way and says, "Hey, look at this," and then because I won't lie, I was watching it, and for the first 10 minutes, I was a little bit like, okay, I could easily turn this off. It sets up a lot to kind of make you go, okay, but I just wasn't doing it. But then halfway through, I think what's so good about the writer, especially, is that I think he knows the kind of genres that he tackles and goes, well, how can we change it and actually do something different? So it was really surprising. And the ending, by the end, I was like, that was a really solid film. I definitely would recommend it. I just literally before the podcast finished Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And that was
I've
really...
not watched any yet.
So good.
So the whole series I can binge.
I'm so annoyed at the end.
Yeah, the beginning scene, when that happened, just that beginning, in that warehouse, and that question of you don't want to do this, and it's like, yeah, we do. I was just like,
so good.
I was just like, take it.
The end of it, though, just as it ended, I was like, no, why would you do that? Why would you? Is
that the whole series? Is that all of them?
It's
one more to go.
Because they said this was the mid-season finale in the trailer. That's what they were calling it, and I was a bit like, what?
Yeah, Marvel. I don't know what they did it with WandaVision as well, a little bit, where they want to basically release more marketing, but they call it mid-season, and it's like, oh, so this is a break, and then we'll get and it's like apparently they're like, but then if you look on their page, they're like, one more episode to go, the final. So I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm hoping the last episode is going to be longer, maybe.
that was another thing that kind of got me with WandaVision, was that I thought the final should have been a lot longer, because there were bits where I was like, oh, really go into that, like, you know. So I'm hoping with this one, I think they will though. I was really surprised that the episode was an hour, because I was expecting it to be like 50 minutes, and loading it up, I was like, oh wow, it's actually an hour. So I wouldn't put it past them that they might do the last episode as a kind of mini feature film sort of thing, like an hour 15, something like that, hour 20 minutes.
That'd be good. I really hope so.
Did I watch anything else? Oh, I watched Police Squad. I don't know if anyone's
I love Police Squad.
Yeah, Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah,
watched two of those, because I think me and my dad are thinking of we're gonna watch the Naked Gun trilogy again, because we love those films. But Police Squad is
they were on offer on Apple the other day.
That's so good. Cheap. If I can recommend another one for you two both to watch just in your spare time, it's on is it 4OD? Is that what it's called now? Like Channel 4. It's like, if you go on there, if you watch Dark Place or Palace, it's Dark Palace or Place, but it's got all the members like basically from IT Crowd, and it's an old horror comedy show. So it's going to be really hard to explain this premise to you, because it is tricky, but it's a fake book author, like it mimicking Stephen King, has wrote these books called Dark Place, and they center around a hospital, and the idea is that Channel 4 has come to him basically and gone, let's make Dark Place. So you're watching a series based on fake books by a fake author. So there's two stories going on.
So it's confusing already.
So it is so good. You'll from the first episode, it makes it very clear, because they obviously like go into it way more. But just trust me, you'll love the first. If you love IT Crowd or like that kind of humor, it's mixed with horror.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Then you'll definitely love it.
In that case, then, have either of you watched yet? Because I told you both to watch this ages ago. Truth Seekers.
Yes, I think I mentioned this on one of the podcasts, because I tried to start watching it, and then the first 3 minutes I didn't know what was happening.
Is that Simon Pegg?
Oh my god,
I got really confused. Okay, I'll write it down again.
It is a bit confusing. There's a lot going on, but it is
Simon Pegg one or not?
Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. Yeah,
I think I watched the first couple, and then I haven't got.
You have to like just continue, because I watched it in like, you know what I'm like, I binged something in a couple of days, but it was very good. Definitely recommend it.
Did you see anything, Jess? Anything to talk about?
Nothing new.
I've got more here.
Yeah, apart from Falcon and Winter Soldier, which obviously was brilliant. I rewatched. I was really tired the other night, but just couldn't sleep, and I was like, I want to watch something that I watched before, so I don't have to pay 100% attention to, but something that I haven't watched a million times. And then I was like, Ant-Man. I've only seen it once, and I didn't remember it very well, so it was still kind of like watching it like new, but not. So I put that on, loved it, and then at the end it said screenplay by Edgar Wright, and I was like, what? It's my favourite director, and I didn't even know that he did Ant-Man, so I was very happy. I was like,
his original script was so good for it, like his concept, and then he stepped down from it because Marvel were like, doesn't really fit with what we're doing. I can understand that, but I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, I love him. He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's so good. He's very, very talented.
Yeah.
Well,
that's all I watched.
I got a couple of things. I watched Jerusalem. Have anyone seen that? Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
They go to Jerusalem. Basically, I can't remember how many there are. 2 girls, I think. Go to Jerusalem. Not sure why they go there. A bit of a holiday. And it's like a found footage thing, a lot of it. And they go to Jerusalem, and some of the people start growing wings, and they're quite demonic. And killing people. And this happens throughout. And it's like the army are there and all sorts. Anyway, it's absolutely mad. So if you get a chance to watch it, it's interesting. Honestly, it's quite interesting. Like demonic winged beasts coming out of humans. Jerusalem. But the Jerusalem's got a Z instead of the S. Yeah? Well, worth a watch. Restarted Idiot Abroad because I wanted a bit of a laugh. So I've been going through them. I'm on episode 3 now of series 1. And I bought myself The Munsters. Is that coming back the front for you guys? Anyway, it's big. It's huge. There's 70 odd episodes. So I started episode 1 last night, and it is as funny as I remember. First ones are in black and white, so that was great. Now, next week I'll talk about. There's a film I've been watching. It's a bit like The Exorcist. I've got the Arrow streaming service, which I had before, but they stopped doing it on Apple. But I've had to get it like on its own now, on its own streaming, and it's so much stuff on there. Larry, you'd love it. $5 a month. I think they give you a free month as well. There is tons of stuff on there, but there's a film on it, a bit like The Exorcist, with pea green soup coming out of this lady's mouth and everything else. But it's brilliant. Something Beyond, I think it's called. But I'll talk about it next week.
Is it Beyond the Gate?
That's it.
I've seen that film.
Beyond the Gate, absolutely.
The board game one. Like they have the DVD. Is it that one?
No, it's got
Beyond the Gate.
I think it's Beyond the Gate. It's 1973.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The girl in it as well is also packing in her little suitcase the actual cans of soup, pea soup that he used in The Exorcist to make the. It's a bit of it's a funny one, honestly. But yeah, interesting movie to say the least. But I haven't quite finished it. I ran out of time yesterday. But that Arrow streaming service is amazing. Well worth a $5. If you like the old stuff, it's 70s, 80s, 90s. That's how they break it down. So it's good. So next week, we are going to be watching, this is Jess' pick, An American Werewolf in London, which is that an 80s film? I think it's an 80s film, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll be watching that, which is a first for you.
Yes.
Probably a 10th for me. Probably same for you, Larry.
I have a poster of it on my wall.
Oh wow!
Behind, right there. Actually, I'll show you where it comes from really quick because it's only here.
Oh, nice.
That is nice. I'm gonna have to buy it now in the week.
It's on. Yeah, I got.
Is that Arrow?
Oh yeah, I was going to say. Actually, hold on. I've got the other one here next to it. Please don't everything fall. There we go. Yeah, I got 2 of them picked up together. So, RoboCop.
No, that's Arrow, isn't it?
Yeah, both of them. Yeah, both of them Arrow. Stuff like Arrow.
Very nice. Very nice.
They come with special books and posters about the film.
Were they expensive?
No, they weren't too expensive. I think American Werewolf in London was a little bit more expensive than
That's 25 quid, probably.
I think RoboCop, I don't think was I think it was under 20 quid. I think it was like $16.99, and I think American Werewolf was about $19.99.
It's all right for something like that.
Yeah.
So, if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's the Bones Horror Pod. If you want to follow us on Facebook, Bones Horror Podcast. Wow, so we got Instagram, which is Jess's thing, Bones Horror Pod. I did well this week, didn't it?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Bones Horror Pod. You want to email us? It's the boneshorrorpod@gmail.com. We need the reviews. We had one more this week, so that's good.
Nice.
Thank you very much. Because we're getting listeners now from Portugal and India and America and Sweden and Norway and places. We had a really good week, actually. Probably our best week for months and months and months. So please give us a review. And we've got episode 50 coming up soon.
Yes.
So we've got to come up for some, with something. But we'll say a bit more next week about that. Maybe you got some questions for us. Who knows? So we'll be back next week with episode 48, An American Werewolf in London. We will see you then. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.